Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's The Session Talk, where, of course, we go through bills that are currently going through the Georgia legislature. And we are joined by no one else other than Alexi Jenkins, who, of course, serves as the head of the Legislative Research Department with Branch Politics. Welcome back, Alexi.
Thank you, Hannah. Happy to be here.
We are so glad you're here because we know you're going to break down some of these bills for us. And before we do get started, everyone, please make sure you are subscribed to this branch newsletter because I'm not kidding you. Every day, Monday through Friday, they send over new bills for you in a digestible format. So you want to make sure you're subscribed to it. We'll have the link in the caption. All you got to do is click on it, put your info in, and you'll be good to go. So definitely make sure you're subscribed. I just want to share a little bit about Alexi before we go into some of the bills. She has a bachelor's degree in political science with a concentration in American politics from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and is a Juris Doctorate from Harvard Law School. She is a transplant from California and a member of the California Bar. So we are, again, happy you're here. Let's dive right in. So last week, we went through 3 bills in 13 minutes. This week, we're going to try to do the same thing. There's a lot of bills going through right now. Where do we start today?
Yeah, so this week we covered a bunch of different bills. One of the first ones that I thought was really interesting to people nationally is about reducing the cost of insulin for people in Georgia. So this bill, HB 73, would reduce the supply of insulin for 30 days to only $50 for Georgians with all different types of insurance, which is a really big deal because currently people have to pay from $25 to $300 for a single vial, and people typically need between 3 to 6 or sometimes even more vials per month.
That is something. I mean, many of us know people who have diabetes. I have a loved one who has diabetes, and you're right. It's so expensive. So to be able to cap it at, what did you say? You said, was it $50?
Yeah, $50 for a 30-day supply.
Wow. I imagine that would be huge for a lot of families in Georgia. So it's something to look out for. And then also, thanks to the report that you had sent over, we did see that there, of course, are groups who oppose it and groups who support it. So what's that looking like?
Yes. So groups like the American Diabetes Association are in support of this bill. They stress the fact that insulin is a life-saving medication, and many Americans really cannot afford insulin right now. So that's their main reason for supporting it. Opponents are typically drug manufacturers. Eli Lilly, which has been in the news a lot lately because of their COVID drugs, they have stated that the rising prices of insulin are really necessary in order to maintain revenue. So they advocate, instead of a cap on the cost, for the use of rebates or discount programs instead to lower the price of the drug.
Gotcha. So we'll see where this one goes. If this is something that touches your heart or, speaks to you, we definitely encourage you to follow along with this bill. Again, that was House Bill 73. And please subscribe to the newsletter because you'll get all this information in an email every morning during the week. And you want to make sure to tap into that. So the next one that you had sent over that we're going to go through today is House Bill 94, which makes it illegal to possess stolen mail or commit porch piracy. So, I mean, we see packages getting stolen here and there. What's the deal with this bill?
Yes, porch piracy has been a really big problem nationally. It's received a lot of coverage, especially around the holidays. A lot of people have packages going missing. And in Georgia, I know it's been a problem that people have been complaining about and reporting about. So this bill addresses that. It would criminalize porch piracy, and it defines it as taking one item or article from around somebody's house without permission. So the bill doesn't specify anything about the state of mind of the person taking the package. So hypothetically, putting my lawyer's hat on, even if you took something like you saw it outside of a friend's house and took it for safekeeping, if you did it without permission, technically you would fall under this bill.
Whoa.
Yeah. For the stolen mail provision, it's a little bit different because they specify that the person with the mail has to know that it's stolen, and they have to have 10 separate pieces of mail with at least 3 different addresses on it in order to be charged under the new statute that would come into effect if this bill passes.
So this is something that would definitely affect a lot of people here because many of us receive mail, many of us get our packages from different places, and yeah, I mean, and then one of the questions that were in the summary y'all had sent is, isn't stealing mail already a felony? Which we know that it is, but can you elaborate a little bit more on this and how it relates?
Yes, so the difference is between federal and state crimes. So mail that's delivered by USPS is under federal jurisdiction since it's a federal agency. So that is already a federal felony. If mail is delivered by private companies like Amazon, any of those other ones that are not the government-run mail service, stealing that mail is not specifically covered. It's just covered under the general theft statute for Georgia. So theft of mail worth less than $500 under Georgia's general theft statute generally is a misdemeanor and not a felony. So the punishments are a lot lower than what this bill would impose.
Interesting. See, y'all, we gotta stay up to date. We gotta keep learning. You know, we talked about this last week, but we gotta stay on top of this. We have to follow some of these bills, follow what's going on in the Georgia State Legislature. I know many people on here are very passionate about serving our communities. Well, that comes in different ways. And one of the ways is being educated and just keeping an eye on what they're passing on our behalf. Remember, they're there to serve Georgians, right? And people across the state. So good morning to everybody who's tuning in. Hello, everyone, because I know we got some people in California. Good afternoon to people who's tuning in on the West Coast or East Coast. And we definitely want to know, where are you all tuning in from? I do see we have Minnesota. I saw someone from Cali. I see Atlanta, DeKalb County's in the house. So where else do we have? But as you all are doing that, let's go ahead and move to the last bill that Lexi is going to go through with us today. And that's SB 10, which changes laws around illegal drag racing. So what is SB 10 and why should Georgians even have this on the radar?
Yes, so SB 10, this is a Senate bill. This is the first time we've talked about a Senate bill on this show. Yeah. So I just wanted to point out that difference. Yeah. It creates some new crimes around illegal drag racing. If you live in Atlanta like I do, you know that drag racing has been something that's been happening a lot since COVID started. It's become a lot more popular. And what this bill does is create criminal penalties for promoting or advertising a drag race. So that those two activities will become an aggravated misdemeanor, which means that they're punishable by a maximum fine of $5,000 and up to a year in jail. Attending a drag race would also be criminalized. And then the penalty for actually racing in a drag race would be increased from a misdemeanor to an aggravated misdemeanor with a maximum fine of $2,500.
Whew, they are really serious about this drag racing.
Yes.
Do you want to maybe talk about why this, they have become taking this really seriously? I mean, I know that you had shared in the summary that there was someone who had passed away, and I know there's been a lot of community advocates fighting on their behalf as well.
Yes, so this bill is specifically in response to the death of Jay Sanford, who was a mother from DeKalb, who was killed by somebody who was allegedly drag racing. So the representative who introduced this bill specifically wrote the law in response to her death.
Yeah, well, that is definitely unfortunate. It's hard to lose anyone, and to lose them to this, we definitely send our hearts out to their family and community, and we all hope for safer communities. You know, I think that we're going to see what happens with this, right? Is drag racing a problem in any of your communities? If you're tuning in, what would you hope to see? Do you like this bill? Do you support it? Do you not? We want to hear from you all as well. I know we have Atlanta in the building. We have London. Hello, London. We have Princeton, Texas in the building. Of course, we have Minnesota as well. So we appreciate all of you being here with us. And remember, just because we're talking about Georgia bills doesn't mean, this type of thing doesn't apply to you, because I guarantee you there might be a bill similar to this getting proposed in your legislature. So we definitely encourage you to check in and see what's going on in your own state as well. But we welcome you to be here with us because, hey, the more the merrier. So we're going to go to one more bill today, and that is House Bill 62, which prevents boards of elections, local election superintendents, and county boards of registrars from accepting or spending private funds. So what is this bill all about?
So this is actually a bill that we could be seeing more of nationwide. It addresses kind of a new problem that arose with the 2020 election cycle. So what happened when we were gearing up for the general election is that the election boards, which run, distribute the elections, count the votes, we were begging for more funding from the state, federal, local governments to run the election because of COVID-19, because of the rise of mail-in voting, and because of the historic turnout. They said that they needed more funding. So what ended up happening is that nonprofits contributed millions and millions of dollars to places all across the country to fill the gaps. One of the reasons that this is particularly controversial is that a lot of really high-profile donors donated money to those nonprofits specifically to go to elections. So Mark Zuckerberg donated $250 million to a nonprofit that actually gave money to the Georgia election offices to run the 2020 election. So this bill, it's a Republican bill, and it would ban election offices from accepting any money from outside sources. So the only source of funding would be coming from the government that the government approved and appropriated for the election cycle.
Wow. So it's almost like, I mean, I guess trying to create this layer of protection in a way, you know, for Georgians. I mean, you have all these outside forces spending money in this state. And so what are supporters saying and what are opponents saying?
So we weren't able to get specific comments from supporters of this specific bill in Georgia. But on a more national scale, supporters of bills like this include the conservative law firm, the Thomas More Society, and they've brought lawsuits around the country over states' acceptance of private donations. So they argued that the donors were directing money at districts that have a history of voting Democrat. So far, I mean, cases take a long way to work their way for the courts. So far, 2 states have sided against the Thomas More Foundation, but we'll see where that goes. And then opponents of the law say that, particularly voting rights advocates, they say that the most important thing that we should be focusing on is that local election offices were put in a position where they had to depend on these nonprofits to fund the election. So in Georgia, we saw much smoother elections than anyone was expecting in November, especially after the primaries. So those advocates would probably say that these nonprofit monies made that possible.
Which makes sense. I can see some of the concerns, but I can also see how advocates would say that it made it possible. I mean, you do need funding a lot of times to get things done. And then also, of course, where the funding comes from is always something that people are going to go back and forth on. So yeah, so four interesting bills here that you just went through. So today we did 4 bills in 14 minutes. Woo! Oh man, that was awesome. Actually, we're right at 13. So we just did 4 bills again in 13 minutes technically, but we'll wrap up in 14 minutes. So we'll just say 4 and 14 today. But yeah, I mean, again, just want to stress the importance of how important it is to really follow these bills, right, on a statewide basis, on a local level. What are your thoughts? Just if you could share the importance to anyone new who's tuning in, or just a reminder to people who are tuning in who already know the importance.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be engaged on the local level. These issues are issues that affect us all the time. I know like a lot of people have had the experience of having packages stolen, or have the experience of, especially in Georgia, voting in elections that have been really frustrating with the long lines. So there are a huge array of different viewpoints that you can have on any number of these bills. We pick ones particularly that are like a little bit controversial and interesting to our viewers. So we really want people to be able to get all the information, make up their own minds, and if they want to go out and do anything about it in their community, they now have the power of that information to go do that.
Oh, I love that so much. Y'all heard that. If y'all want to go do something about it, you have the power to do it. You can contact your lawmakers. You can go sit in on a session and see maybe virtually how it goes down. And you can follow along. And please make sure you subscribe to this newsletter, even if you're not in Georgia. I mean, it's very interesting to digest some of this and understand how these bills are going through legislature and what they entail and the process. So we're going to have that link again in the caption. Make sure to click it. make sure to subscribe, and we will see you all next Friday. We're going to be doing this every Friday, and definitely thanks to Alexi from Branch, and shout out to Branch for all the amazing work y'all do. We're so grateful for everything y'all do to make it digestible, user-friendly, to help regular folks like us. So we thank you all for what y'all do. And to everybody tuning in, we'll see y'all next week. Bye.